Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and for this video I'm going to go through my favourite movies from each subgenre of horror. So this is a video that I was tagged into by Tony from Horror in Todge. Thank you for tagging me, Tony. It's been a while, sorry it's took me a while to get this done, and I'm sure you've seen other people do this video, but hopefully you'll enjoy this one. I've had to think about it, got my movies together, so we'll get straight into it. So the first subgenre to pick from is slasher movies. And when it comes to slasher movies, I automatically go to Friday the 13th. That's my favourite franchise within the slasher genre. And I've said before that Friday the 13th Part 3 is my favourite one of that franchise. But for the sake of this video and for the sake of the subgenre aspect of it, I'm going to go for a different one. And I'm going to go for Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. So this is another one of my favourite movies in that franchise anyway. And the reason I'm going for this one is because Part 6 encapsulates everything that I love about slasher movies. It's a really fun film. It has some great killings and great slasher elements to it. The killer in it looks cool. Obviously it's Jason Voorhees, and by Part 6 he's kind of become zombie Jason, which is really good. I like the characters in this. There's some enjoyable characters, and it's also got a little bit of humour as well. By this stage, Part 6, it knew it was part of an infamous franchise that was getting a bit of criticism from people, and it kind of acknowledges that and embraces it and makes a few jokes about itself, which I really like. It's got a good ending as well, and I love the beginning of Part 6. The beginning of this movie is one of the greatest intros to a horror film ever, so worth watching for that alone. So my choice for slashers is Friday the 13th Part 6. Okay, the next one is paranormal movies, and for this one I'm going to go for The Legend of Hell House, which is a movie from the 70s, a really creepy movie about these like 4 parapsychologists. They go to Hell House, which is this kind of renowned haunted mansion, and prior to them going there was another group of sort of parapsychologists that went in, and I think some of them were killed. I think one returned, and he comes back with this other group to visit again, to try and find out what's going on. That character was played by Roddy McDowall, who did a great job. But Legend of Hell House is still a very effective film. To say it was from the early 70s, it's not hokey at all. It's a very foreboding film. It still has the power to creep you out, make you jump, and it utilises this sort of wonderful gothic mansion and very kind of dark set pieces, and the music as well was very unsettling. So yeah, still a film that's surprisingly effective. This is my pick for favourite paranormal movie. Okay, next up is sci-fi horror, and there's only one film I could have gone for really, like a lot of people, and that is Alien. So not a lot really I can say. Pretty much a perfect movie, the greatest sci-fi horror film in my opinion. I'm always on the fence as to whether I like Alien or Aliens more, but I think Aliens is more of an action-packed film, whereas Alien goes down the route of sci-fi horror. And I just love everything it does. I love that it sort of slowly strips away and gets scarier and scarier. It's an amazing use of tension and things like that, and things that you don't see. And as I think I've said before, but the interesting thing about Alien is it's maybe the only horror film where I actually care about every single character, and I don't want to see any of them get killed, which is no easy feat to pull off when you're making a horror film. So very impressive film, and an absolute classic. As I say, the only film I could have gone for when it comes to sci-fi horror. Okay, next up is a favourite zombie movie, and this one there was a few contenders that I could have gone for. But for me personally, it's Zombie or Zombie Flesh Eaters, Lucio Fulci's zombie epic. So this for me is just like a really well done film. It's trashy, it's gory, it's a bit over the top, but something about this film, Lucio Fulci just nailed this in terms of a horror film and in terms of a zombie movie. He just really understood what to do, and the finished product is an absolutely fantastic zombie film. The zombies look amazing. Some of the best zombies I've ever seen in a film. He sets a really good mood on this deserted tropical island. The music is fantastic. The music, if you imagine what a plodding, rotting zombie looks like, the music that they come up with somehow encapsulates that. It's really good stuff. Great performance by the people in it: Ian McCulloch, Tisa Farrow, Richard Johnson. So yeah, just an amazing zombie film. One that I gleefully discovered when I was a kid, and I've loved it ever since. So that is my favourite zombie movie. Okay, next up is favourite vampire movie. Again, there's a few I could have gone for here. The Lost Boys was pretty close, but the one I'm going for is Fright Night. One of my favourite movies of all time. Both The Lost Boys and Fright Night were prominent movies from my childhood. I used to watch them on repeat. But Fright Night for me just pips it. I absolutely love the movie. I love the characters. I love the story of a horror fan finding out that his next door neighbour is a vampire, and getting a horror star to help him kill the vampire. It's very 80s. It has a lot of charm, a lot of humour, some great horror elements to it, some great practical effects. And the music, I absolutely love the music from Brad Fiedel in Fright Night. It's very underrated in that aspect. So yeah, one of my go-to horror films in general, and my favourite vampire film. Okay, so next up is Home Invasion. Had to give this one a bit of a think. So there's a few that come to mind. Things like The Strangers, things like Inside, the French extreme film. But I'm going to go a little bit obscure on this one. And I'm going to go for one from the 70s called Fight for Your Life. So this one is actually an official video nasty here in the UK. In fact, I think it's still banned here in England. And this is the story of these three criminals. They're on the run, and they hold up in the house of a religious black family, and these three sort of white criminals sort of terrorise and really racially abuse this family. There's strong contention that this film is horribly racist, and I think that's why it was banned and is still banned in this country. It would be very problematic to release it in this day and age. I personally don't think it's a racist film. It does use some awful racist language. It's very horrible to listen to the dialogue in this film. But I don't think it's a racist film because the three white characters in it are so unpleasant and so horrible. You're just waiting for them to get the comeuppance and waiting for this black family to take revenge and for these horrible white guys to get their comeuppance. So in no way is it kind of glorified, and in no way are you made to side with the white perpetrators in this. And I do think this is a very good film, very kind of underlooked and maybe kind of dismissed because of that racist aspect of it. But it's very well written, very good performance from William Sanderson. He really does throw himself into the role of this main criminal in the group. Very well paced, it's got a good climax, and just a very well made film for its kind of grindhouse ilk. So one I would recommend if you think you'd be okay with this, and if you can find it, because it's not the easiest film to find. But yeah, that's probably my favourite home invasion movie. Right, next up is found footage. So again, a lot of contenders for this one. I watch a lot of found footage movies. But I'm going to go for Paranormal Activity. This is a film that I really like. I really like the whole franchise, actually. I have a friend of mine that likes horror films, and we do particularly like watching found footage films together, because we do find them quite scary, and we can laugh at ourselves jumping and getting scared at these kind of films. So the Paranormal Activity franchise kind of is my go-to sort of franchise when it comes to that kind of thing, like a popcorn scare movie. And when this first came out, many years ago now, I was very sceptical that I'd like it. It looked really boring, and I didn't quite like the format of just a static camera set up in a room. But I was actually very surprised how much they did with it and how scary it was. The ending to the film, there's a few endings actually, but I've watched each one, and the endings to this movie really creeped me out. The one when she's coming up the stairs and you can just hear those footsteps. I watched it late at night in the dark, and I thought, my gosh, I'm not sleeping tonight. So yeah, I've always really liked this franchise. I know a lot of people kind of consider it a bit of a throwaway franchise, but I really like what they did with it, and I can still watch any of them now and be very creeped out and scared. So credit to them for that. So that's my favourite for the found footage subgenre. The next subgenre is torture porn, which is probably my least favourite subgenre of horror. No movie kind of in this subgenre is really a favourite of mine, but I did come up with one that I do really enjoy. So my pick for that one is Hostel. And I'm going for this one because, as I say, I just really liked this when I watched it. I remember it coming out and it had a bit of a buzz about it, which was exciting. So that was a bit of a factor as to why I picked this one. I actually like the story. I've heard people dismiss it, that it's stupid and things like that. But the thought of an underground group of people that want to commit this kind of act towards people is frighteningly believable, and I liked how the movie tapped into that and how it all worked, and how these victims found themselves a part of it. I thought that was pretty effective, and I'm not too hot on sort of torture aspects of films, but I thought this one was pretty good because it had some gore with it and things like that. So there was a bit of like gleefulness in the gore and things like that. It wasn't just kind of brutal, low-key torture, which is sometimes a bit more harder to watch. So yeah, I actually don't mind Hostel. I'm quite a fan of the first one, so I'm picking this one for that torture porn subgenre. Okay, so the next one is werewolf movies. Now, I do consider werewolf films to be like probably the most underrated subgenre. It doesn't get a lot of coverage, and this one was actually the subgenre that had the most contenders for my favourite film. So there are things like The Howling, The Wolfman, Bad Moon is a very underrated film, Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers. There's some great werewolf movies out there, but I had to go for the one which I think everyone's gone for, which is American Werewolf in London. It's such a great movie anyway. It's probably the perfect mix of horror and comedy, and as I've said before, that werewolf transformation scene, I don't know how you can pick any other film over this because of that scene. It's still the best. Werewolf transformation scene, still maybe the best example of practical effects. So yeah, I had to go for American Werewolf. And then the last subgenre is foreign film, which I had to think a little bit about, and I've kind of I've gone out of the box a little bit. My first thought was something from Italy, because I have a lot of Italian cinema. Italian horror is one of my favourite, but I have so much and I talk about it so often, it's almost not really a foreign feeling kind of movie to me now. So I've gone for like the next country down. I've gone for France, which I have a few movies from, and so I think my favourite movie from the foreign subgenre, the French subgenre, is Eyes Without a Face, which is a beautiful horror film black and white movie from the 50s, I think, and it's about this scientist with his beautiful daughter. I think she has a car crash and it wrecks her face, and he goes on this like obsessive pursuit to mend her face again, but it descends into like murder and things to get other women's skin and facial features. But it's a wonderful film, very beautiful, artistic French movie that I can highly recommend if you're looking for something a little bit different and alternative. Eyes Without a Face is a classic movie. So those are my favourite movies from those horror subgenres. So thank you for watching that, guys. As always, let me know what you think. Do you agree with these picks for these subgenres? If not, let me know what you would have gone for. I'd be very interested to know. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.